and our people be safe in our community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Ms. LaRue, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
I'm honored to be with you all.
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
Present.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres, Counselor Manuel J. Martinez, Counselor Denise Benavides, Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
Present.
Counselor Aaron Salazar,
Counselor Aaron Salazar is excused. I don't think he was going to be able to log on this evening.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez. Present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Members of the governing body, you have the agenda for you this evening. I am recommending moving executive session regarding discussing the purchase of real property located within Espanola city limits pursuant to section 1015H subsection A, subject to the discussion of the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights by the public body. I'm recommending to move that right before public comment this evening.
How many people do we have signed up for public comment? Okay, I hate to make people wait for public comment. I don't really like to do that, but in this situation, we have a counselor that is that needs to get out quickly. So in order to handle the business that needs to be handled, I'll be in agreement with it for this time, but I don't think we should make this a habit at all. So I'll make a motion accepting the changes that the mayor has made, moving just the one executive session or the both?
Just that one executive session.
Item A,
Item executive session, item C.
item C. Okay, so we're just gonna go in and talk about the first executive session will be the discuss of real property located within the city limits of Espanola. So my motion will be to put that right after the approval of the agenda. And then also recognize that business with visitors, unfortunately, the International Guards Union of America is in the middle of their negotiations, and sometimes they run late till 7 or such. And they asked me to please move them to the first week in March. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that you said this is like the regular city council meeting. It is a regular city council meeting, but it's scheduled off of what our normal schedule is. We're usually on the 2nd and 4th.
Next week would be the 5th.
Oh, okay, so we are on the regular schedule. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, so that's my motion to go ahead and move the executive session item C right after approval of the agenda and omit item 6 and send that to the first meeting in March. And the rest of it is fine.
Motion second by Counselor Nanette Rodriguez. Any discussion? Then being none, Ms. LaRue, would you please call the roll to enter into executive session?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
Hold on, we have approval of the agenda vote.
Oh, forgive me, yes. Motion is on the floor to approve the agenda as presented, as amended by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, second by Counselor Nanette Rodriguez. Ms. LaRue, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
For the motion.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez. For the motion. Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving the agenda item for executive session up to approval, below approval agenda as presented pursuant to the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, section 1978, 1015 1H subsection A, subject to the discussion of the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights by the public body, discussing the purchase of real property located within Espanola city limits.
Motion to enter into executive session to discuss only item C, acquisition of real estate within the city of Espanola.
Second,
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, second by Counselor Edie Valdez. Forgive me, any discussion? Then being none, Ms. LaRue, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise Benavides. In favor. Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
for the motion.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez. For the motion. Motion carries.
Thank you. Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar, Counselor Didi Valdez, I believe you have the link for the meeting.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I believe I do. I'm gonna check right now.
Alrighty, folks. Good evening. We're going to reconvene from executive session. It is 6:20. For the record, there was no action taken in executive session for this evening. Can I get a motion to exit out of executive session?
Second,
Motion made by Counselor Nanette Rodriguez, second by Counselor Didi Valdez. Ms. LaRue, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise Benavides. In favor. Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
for the motion.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the agenda with public comments. Ms. LaRue. And public comment is limited to 2 minutes this evening, and Ms. LaRue, you'll call up people as they signed up.
So we have one that was emailed in by Miss Cynthia Lentini, and that'll be an exhibit into our meeting minutes. The next person would be Nathan Ortiz.
Should be.
Good evening, councilors, mayor, chief of police, fire department. First of all, I'd like to start by first giving kudos to the police department. I've noticed big differences. We've got the new chief, fire department's been doing great. I've was just congratulating them on the quick response they had the other day in the fire in Aviano. Good job, guys. And the other thing I'm here for today is to give you guys a little bit a token of our appreciation for the 31st annual Hispano Music Award Show that you guys all supported us with. I hope we can continue having this relationship with the city to help us support the youth in the community. This form of art that comes from northern New Mexico, and I'm just here to thank you guys all individually. And with that being said, I want to present this small token of our appreciation. It says, presented to the city of Espanola in recognition and appreciation for the sponsorship and supporting the New Mexico Hispano Music Award Show Awards, 31st annual. If I could give it to the mayor.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. Thank you. Beautiful. The city of Espanola is always happy to support our culture and heritage in this valley, and the Hispano Music Association does that for this community. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you guys once again, and we hope to continue this relationship with the city. We're very proud to have it here in northern New Mexico. We want to keep it here in northern New Mexico. Good night.
Pablo Montoya.
Good evening, everybody. Mayor Vigil, Madam Pro Tem, councilors. Hope everybody's having a good evening. I just wanted to take a couple minutes. I know we got it down to 2 minutes. I hope I make that okay. Just cut me off if I keep talking. But I just wanted to address something that came up very recently, and it's regarding the La Jolla fire station build. I know this isn't really a discussion matter because you guys can't discuss on this, but I just wanted to express a little bit of my thoughts and concerns. It's been brought to my attention that this project that's basically in the middle of construction is being brought to a halt for whatever reasons. And I just want to express how dire that this station is needed. I want to express the current situation that the La Jolla crew is facing, living up at the armory temporarily. Not only are they completely out of the norm of being able to have their own space, their own dedicated space as a fire station. For instance, the other night, they were up till, I think, 4:30 AM, 5 AM, had no sleep, had to go back to the armory. As you know, there's a shared collaboration up there at the armory with many different departments that are in there. Some of them getting there at 6:30 AM. So these guys had next to no privacy. We've had people having to, walk across the entire building to go to the shower because they're living there. They shower, they get ready. Along with, many is up to 10 or 15 other employees that are there just trying to work as well. So that's a situation that they're in right now, having to live up at La Jolla. On that note, the effort that was put into building this station is tremendous. Was not only down to one person. This has been an ongoing planning situation for years. We've done the best that we possibly can with the cards that we've been dealt. The contractor that has gone forth to do this was offered or awarded the contract through the state price agreement, which I understand is up to $4 million in allowance. Not only that, this contractor is experienced in not only fire stations, but public safety stations. He's built everything from La Mesilla, El Rito, Velarde, Abiquiu, Pojoaque, Medinales station, and they also built the state police station that's new up here. So extremely experienced, extremely informative, extremely helpful in every step that we possibly had. Any hoop that we've had to try to jump through, they've been there to help us. As everybody knows, the La Jolla area is tight. It's not going to get any bigger. So we're able to design and start building a station that is going to fit the needs of this department, not only for now, but for the future. And also be able to fit within that allotted area that we have. Now, the discussion of moving in and all this stuff will not change the layout of the station. It is what it is for the area that it is. The other thing I wanted to touch base on is, as far as I know.
I'm sorry, Pablo, time's up.
As far as I know, everything has been followed up to this point. So I really hope that we can not hinder this situation, because we're already in a very tight spot. So I hope that we can actually progress as quickly as possible. These contractors are on it. They're following every deadline that they've promised, they've met. And if we continue to do this, we could get the crew back to their allotted station and be able to provide the absolute best services that we possibly can. So we don't hinder this and prolong it any more than it possibly has to be. I'm sorry, I wish I have a lot more to say, but my time is up. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Ms. LaRue.
Bethany Bradley.
Good evening. Still me. You started off good and then you threw that word in there. But you tried. I'll give you that. So I still have questions as far as the leash law I would like answered. I know that you've been working on all these laws and I still have yet to see them. I would really like to see them, so because there's some stuff that I see daily that I'd like to add to. I had a couple questions for the chief, please. I know you guys work hard, but I had 2 squad cars driving through my trailer park doing their typical rounds, while 5 people with backpacks, blankets and the whole 9 yards. We all know they're trespassing. The police did not stop to speak to them. to say, hey, do you live here? If you don't, then guess what? We have this big stack of trespassing that my manager had signed. We've been having a lot of issues with a lot of junkies. Even during school hours, while children that are in our trailer park are walking to the end of the road at Riverside Drive, I have literally pulled up and blocked children from seeing people shooting up in the middle of our park. It's getting really old for us that live there. It's getting out of hand. We've apparently become ground zero. Our trailer park has become ground zero for a lot of people. They're in the back. They've been trying to get this trailer moved out. And it's literally been a mess. Every day I can't leave work. I have to have my cameras on 24/7, and I shouldn't have to do that at this point. I had somebody in my yard who decided they were gonna jump the fence. What would have happened if my dog would have been out there and bit that person? I would have been in trouble, because now they're jumping our fence with no care for the no trespassing signs that are posted. Something's gotta be done. You know, this is just, it's so out of control, and I'm so tired of not sleeping right because my husband works at night and doesn't get home till 2 in the morning. You know, dogs or not, it doesn't mean I'm safe, because I have to worry if my dog bites somebody because they're on my property, I'm still responsible. So I just, it's all about safety at this point.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Kelly Harvey. I am with the Environmental Management Field Office in Los Alamos, New Mexico, also known as EMLA. I am one of the project leads from EMLA for a particular project called the Strategic Vision, and that's why I'm here. It's actually a unique project that we are building from the ground up by collecting feedback and priorities from the surrounding communities. And by doing this, we're actually reaching out to the local community.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I can't hear what she's saying at all.
Can you, is that light on, Elizabeth?
Yes. it's on.
Yeah, just move it closer to you, Kelly.
I think she's just a little soft-spoken and maybe move the, yeah, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's the transcriptionist, so she needs exact record of what you're saying.
Gotcha.
Sorry, Ms. Harvey. Can you tell me your title, your what you said, you're one of the project managers for what? I'm sorry.
I'm one of the project leads from Environmental Management Field Office in Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Thank you.
But going back to what I was mentioning, it is a unique project that we are building from the ground up. Like I mentioned, we're reaching out to local surrounding communities to request participation as a stakeholder. And as a stakeholder, it is actually, we want to give that opportunity for folks to voice their values and feedback for the legacy waste cleanup in Los Alamos. And the ultimate goal and objective for the project is to develop a realistic stakeholder informed document for the remaining cleanup scope. And this document will actually coordinate with the regulatory requirements, budget. That's the goal of this. And so the way that we broke out the strategic vision is in 4 phases. The first phase is, of course, inform and invite, but the way that we broke that phase out is to educate any folks who want to participate as a stakeholder about the current projects that we have ongoing with the legacy waste cleanup, and also the pending projects that we still have on our plate. Moving into the second phase, this is the opportunity to sit down at a table, kind of like a worldview cafe approach, And this is where you'll be able to voice your feedback, your values and objectives, and how the work for the legacy waste cleanup should be prioritized. And then ultimately, the third phase is to build a model for this. And then, like I mentioned, ultimately to develop that realistic stakeholder informed document for the remaining cleanup scope. So that's why I'm here. And I hope that we can get on your agenda next month. I would really love that. I would love to give a full presentation on this, and also an opportunity for the council members to be able to participate and be able to voice your voices and your feedback and your objectives on how we should prioritize the legacy waste cleanup. So thank you.
Ms. LaRue, thank you.
No other public comment.
Thank you for all that signed in for public comment this evening. We're gonna skip over business to visitors. We're gonna go to counselor comments. No counselor comments this evening. Okay.
I'll have council comments.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
First of all, I want to thank everybody under public comments. Your comments are important to us. Sometimes there's business that takes precedence and requires us to change the schedule, but that doesn't mean that your input isn't important to us. Concerning the fire department Mayor, could you please address the situation with purchase of property or possible purchase of property, and how that changes the timeline to some extent with the project that's going on in La Jolla? And then
Can't talk about that.
we can't?
Can't. We haven't moved forward. It's executive session.
Okay, I understand you. I totally get that. What else did I have? I wanted to shine a light on the fire department for sure, for their work and effort on the fire. Last night, was it last night? 2 nights ago, yeah, Sunday night. Just appreciating Okewinge for their mutual aid, and also La Mesilla and San Pedro for the mutual aid they provide to our fire department. It's so important that we continue to nurture those relationships as much as we can in order to maintain that type of mutual aid that they provide to us. Also, I want to recognize the department for providing mutual aid to La Mesilla a week ago in a structure fire, and we certainly appreciate that. And I'm sure it's one of the few times where we have an opportunity to actually pay back something that they do for us on a regular basis. So thank you again to the department for what they're doing with that. I have had a lot of concern recently about the vagrancy. It seems to be building again in the city of Espanola, especially in the Dollar Tree area and that area there. Those residents from that area are very concerned about what's happening with that. I'd also like an update on what is going on with the police department and when they will be moving over there. And I guess that's about it. There's a lot of stuff going on at the library that I wasn't aware of. There's a lot of different things that are going on over there. So I think it would be interesting if we could possibly do some type of a monthly what's happening in Espanola, either in the paper or in our billing process that we do, so that everybody's aware. And then I also wanted to let Councilor Nanette Rodriguez know that I'm willing to help you with the Olympic program that you guys are going to have. I'm really excited about it, to be honest with you. I think that's so cute. So I definitely want to volunteer and help you with those events. I really want to do that. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any comment? All right. I'm gonna move on to matters from my office. We've had a busy week at the legislature. We're constantly there lobbying for return to work legislation. It's going to affect us for public safety, public works, all employees. Right now, as it stands, employees that are wanting to come back to the workforce will have to hold their retirement. The state of New Mexico is proposing legislation that will allow individuals to sit out a year and go back into the workforce, and that's including public safety, public works, all important positions that are much needed for the city of Espanola. One of the things is the city of Espanola is affected so much is the aspect that we're close to Santa Fe and close to Los Alamos. It makes it very hard for us to compete with these other regional employers. So this is gaining traction. Thank you, Senator Michael Padilla from Albuquerque. He's been leading the effort. Our lobbyist team, Vanessa Allered and Kim Legant, they've been really working on this, as well as it's gotten support from the executive branch. So we're really thankful for this. I'm really hoping for this legislation to pass. I think once we do this, we'll be able to really staff up our departments across the city. So we're hopeful for direction on this. We've also been getting a lot of success from legislative support for much needed infrastructure projects. We've gotten commitments from Senator Leo Jaramillo, Representative Susan Herrera, Representative Christine Chandler, Representative Tara Lujan, Representative Andrea Romero, with commitments to give us money for much needed projects. Thank you, Representative Herrera. She's been a great conduit for us there at the legislature. I really want to applaud the city for going in the direction of hiring a lobbyist. By our estimates, we hope to probably secure close to $1.3 million by the end of this session. From the governor's office, we are planning hopefully close to 5 to 8, possibly even $10 million for a project as well. So we're really thankful. We've been getting support from the governor's office on that. Our lobbyists are very well connected, and it goes back to making the investment will pay off in the long run for this community. So the legislature continues. Want to invite the public to Wednesday, March 15th, which is going to be Espanola Day at the legislature, a day of entertainment and activities. Lowriders are invited. We're bringing hoop dancers from Santa Clara Pueblo. We're still looking for a mariachi group. Thank you, Ms. Tini Bustos, who's been working very hard to plan and facilitate all the activities for this event. It should be a great event. Again, I'm inviting all the governing body to come out. I think Mr. Yahtzee is still looking and seeing what departments will be going and seeing possibly we may close the city on that day as well. We're inviting all the business community, and also thank you to the school district that's been working with us to bring some students to that day as well. And so we're hoping for a very robust day at the legislature. The governor will also be present, hopefully, as well as all our legislative delegation, to thank them for their support. I don't have anything else from my report. Any comments from the governing body? Mayor Pro Tem.
Sorry, Mayor, follow up. I'd like to request that Ms. Kelly be put on the next agenda, please. I'm very interested in what's going on with that cleanup. And also, I'd request that we do a presentation to the wrestlers of the Espanola Valley High School. I'll work with the city clerk's office so that we can get the information and the names that those that need to be recognized. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other questions? All righty. Oh, there's an enchilada dinner happening on Thursday at the senior center. Tickets are $10. It benefits the fiestas. It's from 5 to 7. Again, 5 to 7 on Thursday, the 23rd. It's a benefit enchilada to benefit the Fiesta del Valle de Española, $10 a person. And looks like Councilor Nanette Rodriguez is selling tickets. Mr. Yahtzee, your report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I will start off with the update on PD. Cameras are being installed this week. We had a little snafu on the design, and so we had to make the evidence room bigger, but that work should be completed this week. The only remaining item left on it is the installation of the fiber. That has already been approved. The contractor is waiting on approval from Jimenez to hook to their poles. I contacted Jimenez last Friday. They're working to expedite the process so that they can connect to the poles. We are hoping that they're going to be able to start moving in the next couple of weeks. The official day that they will be completely gone is April 1st, is when we are looking at having that other company come into their old PD building. Met with the engineers for the Fairview sidewalk project. That project is moving along. They had some questions. We got some answers for them. They are hoping that those plans will be shovel ready by the end of spring, beginning of summer, so we can at least apply for some DOT funding for those. Also, they had the plans for the East Pueblo Water Loop road construction done. They are about 35% on those. That project, once again, is looking at end of spring, first of summer to be at a shovel-ready process. I asked them to get with the gas company on that because that was our only unknown. I want to make sure before we replace water, before we replace sewer, that the gas company doesn't have plans to come in there and replace gas lines in the next 5 years, and they have to tear up our brand new road. Because this road is going to require a geomat underneath the base. And as soon as you cut into it, you lose the mat. And so it'll be very detrimental if we actually have to cut into it. We are working on commercial changeover. The crews have been working slowly. They're going to hit the ground running tomorrow on the dumpsters. So far, they've done about 10 dumpsters, but North Central is supposed to start taking out their dumpsters starting tomorrow. This is leaving us in a very strange situation in that there's a lot of trash in a lot of these enclosures, and technically by our code, the business owner would be responsible for this trash. Well, if this business owner has been paying for their trash bill on a regular basis and it's overflowed and caused the trash because of non-pickup from North Central, how do we punish the business owner for doing the right thing? So more than likely what's going to end up happening is we will have to clean out these enclosures before we place our dumpsters, and we're going to probably end up having to send a bill to North Central for the cost of the tonnage for us to clean it up and the employee cost, because we just do not have that many employees that can be out there cleaning up this trash. North Central is saying that they are going to clean it up, but I don't see them having any employees to do it either. They are on a tight deadline. They are wanting the dumpsters collected by next Tuesday. So that is essentially 500 dumpsters in 5 days. And so I don't see how they're going to be able to do that, but I think they can. So we'll support them if they try. We are going to make some moves now that everybody's back in our office. I really want to applaud Emma and Shannon. Just this morning at 11 o'clock, there were boxes packed up in here, stacked up high. They got everything cleaned out, everything moved out so that we could have council tonight. We're looking at moving planning back into City Hall. We have a lot of complaints that people can't get through to staff. They are short-staffed. By moving them back in here, we will have somebody here 24/7 answer the phone. When we're open, somebody will be here to answer the phone for them. So what we're going to look at doing is moving them over. Now that everybody is back in their offices, we're going to go through and count offices to figure out how many we need, if we have enough. But the goal is to move the planning department back into this building. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Yatsi. Any comments from the governing body? Counselor Denise Benavides.
Thank you, Mayor. Just really quick for City Manager. I had lunch with a couple of ladies last week, and their question was they're wanting to see if they could volunteer and assist the city more so in the trash piece of it. And they wanted to see if they could kind of go around with Armando, kind of just get a feel a little bit for what he does. But their goal was to maybe be out there and talking to residents and assisting with trash pickup and kind of just put a little group together to assist the city as well.
That would be great.
Okay.
That would be great. You can give them my cell phone number. I would love to talk to them.
Perfect.
While you brought it up, real quick, the audit. We have the paperwork has been sent to the state for the new audit firm. The price came in under the allowable amount for professional services. So we didn't have to declare emergency. We didn't have to do RFP. The state should accept the auditor this week. It is in their contract. They will be done by May 1st, which will not affect any of our ICIP funding for this year.
All right, no further discussion from city managers report. We're going to move on to items proposed for council consideration, discussion items, action items. Second reading of ordinance 2023-1 regarding officers and employees. Mr. Rennick.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know how much detail you'd like me to go in on this, but there are a few things that should be pointed out to the council. The existing chapter 78 only has really two provisions in it. One is for the appointment of the appointed officers at the organizational meeting, and the other is for the appointment and responsibilities of the city manager. So there's a few changes to that. And then we're adding or proposing that you add new provisions for the city clerk, the police chief, fire chief, and the city attorney. So I'll start with Article 1, which is the appointed officers. It does not currently have, and do you have this in front of you, a copy of the draft ordinance? Okay. You'll see that.
Do you have an extra copy?
No, do you want me to make this one?
Go ahead.
Well, I can describe it pretty easily. The 78-1 currently does not specify who the appointed officers are. So we simply add a provision that says the appointed officers are the manager, clerk, attorney, police chief, and fire chief. At the organizational meeting, the mayor appoints those subject to approval by the governing body. Now, there's an existing provision that says persons holding these positions prior to the organizational meeting may be removed during the organizational meeting at the pleasure of the city council by majority vote of all of the members. Well, as a matter of state law, the appointed officials can be removed by a majority of the city council. But what this implies is that somebody holding that position would remain in that position after the organizational meeting. That would be contrary to state law. The mayor appoints these people at the organizational meeting. He has to do it at every organizational meeting. So we propose to delete that and simply follow state law. The mayor appoints, and if you've got an official who is in that position and the mayor wants to keep that person, then he will reappoint. If he doesn't, then he has to appoint somebody else. That's being brought into compliance with state law. The existing section in next paragraph says that the appointed officials shall not be removed except upon just and probable cause relating to malfeasance in office, neglect of their duties, or failure to carry out the orders of the city council. That is contrary to state law. So we're proposing to simply delete it. Appointed officials serve at the pleasure of the mayor and council, period. The next article is with regard to the city manager. Most of this is just sort of rearranging what's already there. There's a couple of things that are a little different. Currently, section 78(4)(c) says that all municipal employees, including department heads, supervisors, chief of police, and fire chief, are subordinate to the city manager. All employees except the city clerk, city attorney, police chief, and fire chief are subject to discharge or suspension at the discretion of the city manager in accordance with the personnel merit system. The appointed officials are subject to discharge by the council. We're proposing to rewrite that a little bit. The appointed officials we've already discussed, that's in state law. the manager would be responsible for everybody else and would supervise, promote, demote, everything in accordance with the merit system. But we're suggesting an addition that says department directors serve at will. The current ordinance doesn't specify it one way or the other. I don't know whether the personnel policy specifies that, but that is something of significance, that all department directors would serve at the will of the city manager. That is in section 78-10C. Otherwise, the city manager shall be appointed for an indefinite term. We're taking that out because city manager is appointed by the mayor with the consent of the council and serves at the pleasure of the governing body, not for an indefinite term. The last three items under the city manager's current responsibilities we're suggesting are unnecessary and be deleted. First, says that subject to city council approval, the manager will issue and administer supplemental personnel rules and regulations. There's a procedure for the personnel rules that are approved by the council. And to the extent that that is saying that it's redundant, to the extent that the manager can issue personnel rules without the council's approval, it would probably, that would prevent that. The personnel rules would have to be approved by the council. Recommend contractual arrangements for outside services. That's unnecessary. Somebody, the council approves contracts. They come to you from the manager or from some other department as necessary, or maybe from the mayor. So it's an unnecessary provision. Delegate in writing responsibility for administering various procedural phases of the personnel program. Again, it's redundant. The manager already has that responsibility. For the next several sections here, deals with appointment and selection of the city attorney, duties and responsibilities. It's basically what is already in the contract with outside counsel. Do such work as the mayor or the manager requests, represent the city in litigation and so on. He can either be appointed or done by RFP. For the city clerk, each of the other three, the clerk, the police chief, the fire chief, are basically in compliance with state law, what it says the duties of those positions are, and that they are appointed by the mayor with the consent of the council. They're subject to removal either by the mayor with a majority of the council or by a majority of the council. And that's pretty much it. The one significant item in there that you need to be aware of, and whether you may or may not approve it, is department directors.
Personnel policy already says they're at will.
Okay. Then it's in compliance with that as written.
Questions, Mayor?
Sir Benavides.
So under city manager, see where it says subject to the city's merit system, do we have such merit system in place and is it up to date?
Nope. We don't. This is old language that's been in there and we need to do that.
Mayor, under city clerk, the city clerk will be supervised by the mayor, not the city manager.
That's state statute. The mayor supervises the clerk in state.
That's correct.
There is something that is different, and I did add this. For chief of police and for fire chief, you need to have a minimum of 8 years of experience in law enforcement and preferably at least 3 years of experience in administration. That's for police and fire chief. We didn't have that before. And I believe that we need to do this going forward. We have a lot of problems when we put people that are brand new off the chopping block. That's something that's not in state law. There is no requirement to be a chief of police.
At the last meeting, one of the counselors, I can't remember for sure who it was, it might have been Counselor Salazar Torres, asked if we could add an annual organizational review. And, okay.
Sorry, Jay. I was requesting that we had an evaluation written in the ordinance from now moving forward, because at times, there's been times when I felt that we do need to evaluate appointed positions, but then it's looked at and frowned upon by those who are appointed because they feel like we're using that to sort of rein on their position. And I feel like if the process for evaluating appointed positions is written in from now, it's something that should be done so that we can have a communication with what the vision is from the council to that position and where we see the city moving forward and how we feel they should perform their duties according to that vision. I feel like a lot of times the council is sort of left out of the loop and then we're finding out things on the backside. And I think if we have an open dialect with the appointed positions, I feel like it's something that's beneficial to everybody. It helps people to understand each other a little bit better, and I think it'll be beneficial to the city.
That can be added in, just simply say appointed officials shall be subject to annual evaluation. That's up to you and the mayor.
I would request that language be put in there. I think it's very important. No, I'm talking about appointed positions. We're evaluated every day,
Yeah,
Denise.
Agree with you on the appointed positions, because that was something I was gonna recommend, and maybe we don't do the evaluation, but we have a say in how we feel those appointed positions.
Even if it's just like a type of workshop kind of evaluation where we just sit around and maybe have a full day of interaction with what's going on with the city, where we feel like we want to take it, and those kinds of things, maybe not even performance-based stuff, but some kind of process for evaluation. And since we're on that, let me just state this. I feel like everybody who is employed at the city should be offered the same type of feedback annually. There should be an evaluation process happening on employees all the time. I think it's an opportunity to realize sometimes that we're not doing what we should be doing. And it's a way for us to grow and think about, reflect about what we're doing and try and correct some of the things that maybe are not so good.
Add to that, I think it's a great idea. I think everybody should have an annual review. That doesn't mean they're going to get an increase. Some may not. But I definitely think that, that feedback is warranted. I think it's only fair to provide an annual review to each and every employee, especially those that are in director positions that, may or may not know the job, but may be a director, right? And I think that, it's fair to the entire staff to have an annual evaluation. And I think at some point, this governing body should put together some sort of strategic plan and gear our budget towards those strategies and, go back to the comprehensive plan and also, do what we can to follow that plan. And I think, it's important for us to put some strategies together and go down the path of having those discussions with department directors and let them know what those strategies are and maybe build them together with those directors.
Thank you, Counselor Benavides. I concur with you. Mr. Yahtzee, add that to your to-do list of things. I know we've talked about creating a pay plan, a salary tier schedule. We don't have that here at the city, and we have just a mix of salaries across the board and in the evaluation process, we don't have that. I know Mr. Yetzi's been working on the personnel handbook. He has been doing that. This was me. I was pushing this because the code is just not in compliance whatsoever and the code is very vague. And so this ordinance hasn't been revised since 1985, so I think it's a good step in the right direction. Counselor Rodriguez.
I just want to add that I don't think evaluations should be merit-based. They should be evaluations. Shouldn't have anything to do with increases.
I agree. Mr. Yatsi, did you have a comment?
We are actually working on a pay plan. We just started on it last week. The hope and goal is to have actually to y'all before we do budget. So that way it'll be part of next year's budget. And Sally and I are going over the actual reviews. I want every employee to have a yearly review. It should not be at necessarily their year to date. It's easier for staff to do it at the beginning of every year.
Any other comments on this? Mr. Rennie?
Well, that's all I've got. I think that Mayor Pro Tem is suggesting an amendment to this that would add an annual evaluation for appointed officials. And then that's it. The evaluation of all employees be for the personnel policy, which the manager's working on.
Where would that go in here?
I'm sorry, where would it go in?
Yeah.
I think I'd put it in 78-1 as a new paragraph C. And simply say, the governing body shall evaluate the appointed officials annually.
I just want to confirm with my understanding of state law is individual. I get how you put here that the incumbent officer holds from organizational meeting to organizational meeting, correct?
Correct, unless discharged, but once appointed and confirmed, that person's there until the next organizational meeting has to be reappointed.
Yes, that's my understanding.
That's the way I've got it here. Okay. That's not the way it was.
Is that the key? Yeah, that's why I'm kind of confused because do they serve until the council? Let's, for instance, in between the organizational meeting, the council can remove an individual?
That's correct.
Okay.
But if at
That doesn't, you don't get that very clear here if you read that. That's why I'm glad you brought that up.
Is not satisfied with the performance of an appointed position, they can call for them to be removed and for the mayor to appoint somebody else, correct?
That's correct. But what's important, I think what the mayor was talking about just now, when the organizational meeting comes around and the mayor says, I'm reappointing Jordan Yutzi's the manager, that's fine. But if he says, I'm appointing John Doe as the manager, then it'll be not John Doe, not Jordan Yutzi. That's the significance of what the mayor does at the organizational meeting. I'm sorry to use that name. I should have used John Doe and Jane Doe. Jane Doe is the current manager. He's going to appoint John Doe.
Hey, well, we had a mayor that just didn't want to appoint anybody. He just said he wasn't going to submit anybody 2 years ago. So that's why this ordinance, I wanted it to get cleaned
Yeah,
up.
well, then you don't have anybody working.
Mhm.
It's actually state law that you have
Exactly.
to appoint at the organizational meeting,
Mhm.
correct, Jay? It's state law that a mayor is mandated to make his appointments at the organizational meeting, correct?
Correct.
Mhm.
The legislature kind of messed up the election code when they redid it 3 years ago as to when the organizational meeting
That's why this
is.
one's cleaned up, that it says at the second Tuesday following the month after the election.
Exactly.
Because it used to say after the election, the second Tuesday after the election, and we don't take office anymore until a month later.
So I believe it's in compliance with state law.
Okay. Right. So do we need to re-advertise if we're gonna add that section or paragraph?
I don't think that is a substantial enough change to require re-advertising.
Okay. All right, then we're gonna move forward to discuss approval of ordinance 2023-1 regarding officers and employees. I think at this juncture, then Mayor Pro Tem, you would entertain a motion to amend ordinance 2023-1 with your suggested language.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. Accepting what was previously written down, the changes that have been made. So this is on the item B,
Yes,
discuss and approve.
yes.
Okay, I will go ahead and,
Oh, okay, forgive me, I have to open up the public hearing.
that's what I thought.
I'm we need to put that in the future. We need to put on the agenda for this, a public hearing. The time is 7:11. I'm gonna open this meeting for public comment, public hearing. Anyone here speak in favor of ordinance number 2023-1? In favor or against ordinance number 23-1 in the city of Espanola, and ordinance of the city of Espanola amending chapter 78 of the Code of Ordinances, officers and employees, amending articles 1 and 3 regarding appointment, authority, and city manager, and adding provisions for appointments of city attorney, city clerk, chief of police, and fire chief.
And attorney?
Yeah, I see a point. That was the first one, city attorney, city clerk, chief of police, fire chief.
City manager.
It's earlier on.
Sorry.
Better be a good drink.
He said, sorry.
I'll give it one more minute. Total of 2 minutes. All right, this public hearing is now closed. Thank you. Can forgive me, we're gonna go back. We have ordinance number 2023-1 regarding officers, employees in the city of Espanola. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to entertain that same motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the ordinance 2023-01 with the changes that Mr. J has discussed with the council. Also, I would like to add language that requires the governing body to do some type of evaluation annually on all appointed positions.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, second by Counselor Denise Benavides. Any discussion on this motion on the floor? There being none, Ms. LaRue, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
For the motion?
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez,
For the motion.
motion carries.
All right. I assume we'll enter into executive session to discuss these action items, Mr. Reddick.
Yes.
Okay.
You have contract counsel on both items standing by on
Okay.
Zoom.
All right. Notice is hereby given that the mayor and the governing body of the city of Espanola will enter into executive session in accordance with the New Mexico Open Meetings Act pursuant to New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, section 1015(1)H subsection 7, subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to the threatened or pending litigation in which the public body is or may become a participant.
Mayor.
Yeah, I'm reading this, this, can we go into executive session the way it's labeled?
I don't have it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Item C is not that your item
That was my
ten
point.
C is not labeled as an executive session item.
So you're on item C of the.
Item C is under the
You
proposed
skipped
items.
C, D, E, and F.
Yeah.
You went
Yeah,
into.
none of them are noticed as executive session items.
the reason behind that is, well, that's the approval of the settlements,
Right.
possible approval of the settlements following executive session. Executive session is at the end because we,
I'll make a motion to move the
Yeah.
executive session
Well-
or item C.
you can always enter into executive session at any minute at any moment in the meeting, as long as you post it on here. But my concern is the way it's labeled.
Yeah, it's not labeled correctly.
Yeah, it's not labeled correct.
Is what I'm
Or
saying.
labeled correct.
So it wasn't noticed correctly, basically.
You read it?
I'm not following you, Mayor. You've got item 11, executive session. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, but you just,
But you're still on item 10, Mr. Rennick.
yeah, but Elizabeth, the point I'm trying to say is executive session wasn't properly duly noticed for this,
Correct,
for this item.
Which
correct.
Which item?
It says you've already
Item-
got the usual language pursuant to the statute. The actual cases would read as follows.
Discussion
Oh,
of an opiate
but
settlement. It's
No,
there.
but someone left they didn't indicate specific. They named it as the commentary. They left the commentary on from an
Correct.
additional email.
And then on item C that I'm talking about, would you table that or,
We
You
already
did-
went into that at the beginning, Elizabeth.
okay, well, all right,
Okay, Mayor,
what-
now I understand.
yeah,
Under A, executive session, that first two sentences were part of my email to the clerk that
Yeah.
accidentally got put in there.
all
That
right,
doesn't mean that it's not noticed because it says you'll be discussing
Opiate
two
settlement.
cases, the opioid settlement agreement, the George Martinez case, and then the purchase of real property. So what you'll need to do, though, is come back. If you approve the opioid settlements, they're in open session as items 10, C, D, E, and F. You would come back in to approve that. To go into executive.
that's where
session.
you would make the motions then, right? You would make the motions in open session,
That's
Yes.
correct.
yeah.
'Cause
Okay, I
we're
got it,
Advertising that there may be action.
I
after we
got
come
it.
out of executive, Elizabeth.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to be sure I had it right.
No, I'm glad we do, and that's why we have to cross all our Ts and not all our Is.
I believe it's been adequately noticed. I think the public knows that these are what the items that'll be discussed.
Okay,
Can you get a motion?
Motion to enter into executive session
Second.
as provided pursuant to the New Mexico Open Meetings Act to discuss item A, discussion of the opiate settlement between Albertson, CVS, Kroger, and Walmart. Item B, threatening or pending litigation in the case of George Martinez versus the city of Espanola.
Okay,
Second.
I got you.
And just for the record, Counselor Valdez is gonna be unable to join us in executive. We still have
Then-
a quorum.
Do you have a quorum without her?
Yes, according to Mr. Rennick, we do.
If Counselor Salazar is present, that makes 4 counselors plus the mayor, and the mayor
Why not?
counts as a person for purposes of a quorum. So
He
that'd be a
does.
quorum of
Okay.
5.
Oh, Counselor Salazar, are you still on?
Yes, Mayor, but I advised, City Clerk, Debbie Garcia, and also Deputy Clerk, I'm not gonna be in for executive session, so I'll be logging off shortly.
Then you won't be able to vote, yeah.
Is there any way that you could stay on for a little bit, Counselor Salazar?
I'm sorry, I've actually extended it, something I need to attend to since 7 o'clock.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Time is 7:20.
Mayor,
If as soon as he logs out, we don't have a quorum. We have
Right.
to adjourn the meeting.
Let me ask Dee Dee if she can sit in for 5 minutes.
are you losing both Councilors Valdez and Salazar? Then what I would suggest is is not to adjourn this meeting, but to recess it to a time and place that it can continue.
So Counselor Salazar, are you still on?
He's on.
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, because we'll need a motion. You need to stay on so that we can motion to recess the meeting, because once he steps out, I'm going to have to then adjourn the meeting for lack of quorum.
And
That's
both
correct.
of these items are very, very time sensitive, so would like to suggest you don't do it for another week.
Is everyone available tomorrow? We'll poll the council tomorrow to see if they're available.
Let me see if Aaron can log on for.
He don't have any service. He's at the Knights of Columbus.
Maybe he can call in.
There's no service. Like, he doesn't even answer when I called him earlier.
The only way this will work is if you have a specific time.
Yeah, otherwise you'll have to table everything else, including the executive session, to the next meeting. And then adjourn. You don't have to have a vote on tabling.
So who can be there tomorrow if we were to have a meeting, even if we do it via Zoom?
Mayor, I have a question, roughly about how long, I know executive sessions are kind of hard to tell of a timeline, more or less, but, we looking, what, approximately 15 minutes, 30 minutes? What do you think?
The opioid settlement would probably not be more than about 15 minutes. The other case could be lengthy. as
Okay,
it was
I could probably stay till about 7:45.
Let's try and knock it out, whatever we can.
Okay, all
If
right.
you can do that.
So I'm not sure if he needs to leave in the middle of executive session, what happens? The meeting just,
No,
And-
once he needs to leave, we need to stop the executive session, come back and vote ourselves back in, and then if we need to extend, we'll extend at that
Well,
point.
Well, but the problem is you can't vote yourself back in if.
Oh, no, we'll do it before he leaves. If he says, okay, guys, I gotta leave right now, then we gotta come back in and get it done.
we should just reschedule, honestly.
Maybe you should table item B of the executive
wish-
session.
Aaron said, call him on his cell, he can be in.
Okay, he said if we didn't have service.
And Dee Dee says she can log on also. You're off the hook, Mr. Salazar.
All right,
Well,
thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Absolutely. Let's let one of them
We have a
get on.
motion and a second on the floor to enter into executive session. Ms. LaRue.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
Yes.
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion,
Counselor Denise Benavides.
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy Valdez.
she's not on.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez. So that still motion carries? Motion carries.
Ow. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. Way down somewhere.
hungry. Isn't there any food? All I ate was menudo. Come on, Nick. Good evening, everyone. We're going to resume regular session after exiting executive session. There was no action taken in executive session. Is Dee Dee on? So we do have a quorum, 1, 2.
I'm on.
Yeah, we have a quorum. We're almost done, Dee. Thank you. Can I get a motion to exit out of executive session? Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, second by Councilor Nanette Rodriguez. Ms. LaRue, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar, Counselor Denise Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
For the motion.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez. Motion carries.
Thank you. Going back to action items. Items proposed for council consideration, discussion items, action items. Approval of settlement agreement, participation agreement, allocation agreement, and any related documents or agreements in the Albertson opioid litigation and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreements. On behalf of the city.
Motion to approve the settlement agreement that has been provided to the council.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez to adopt the agreement as presented by legal counsel. Second by Councilor Denise Benavides. Any discussion? Ms. LaRue, would you please call the roll?
This issue is the Albertsons only, the first?
Yes,
Okay,
there's one for each of the
okay.
entities. Ms. LaRue,
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Denise Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
For the motion.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez. Do I need to call the mayor?
No.
Majority? No. Motion carries.
all right, thank you. Approval of settlement agreement, participation agreement, allocation agreement, and any related documents or agreements in the CVS opioid litigation and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreements on behalf of the city.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mayor
Second.
Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez to adopt the settlement agreement, second by Councilor Annette Rodriguez. Ms. LaRue, would you please call the roll? I'm sorry, it skipped my head.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Denise Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
For the motion.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez. Motion carries.
Thank you. Approval of settlement agreement, participation agreement, allocation agreement, and any related documents or agreements in the Kroger opioid litigation and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreements on behalf of the city of Espanola.
Motion to approve as presented, sir?
Motion to adopt the